Hundreds of years ago, the Celts were the original inhabitants of Britain until the Romans invaded their land. The first origins of English date back to when the Romans decided to leave the British Isles. Let's have a look at some of those eras. Old English or Anglo-Saxon is the earliest historical form of the English language, spoken in England, southern and eastern Scotland until the early Middle Ages. It was brought to Great Britain by Anglo-Saxon settlers probably in the mid-5th century after the Norman conquest. The Anglo-Saxons were members of the Germanic-speaking groups who settled in the southern part of Britain. In 1066, the Normans invaded England. It was an event that was to transform the English language forever. For over 300 years, French was the language of the power spoken by royalty, aristocrats and high-powered officials, some of whom could not even speak English. During this time, thousands of French words entered the English language. William Shakespeare expressed new ideas and distinctions by inventing, borrowing, or adopting a word or a phrase from another language. Scholars estimate that between 1500 and 2018, nouns, verbs, and modifiers of Latin, Greek, and modern Romance languages added 30,000 new words to the English language. When Shakespeare began writing his plays, the English language was rapidly absorbing words from other languages due to wars, exploration, diplomacy, and colonisation. The King James Bible is an English translation of the Christian Bible for the Church of England. James gave the translators instructions intended to ensure that the new version would conform to the structure of the Church of England and its belief in an ordained clergy. The translation is noted for its majesty of style and has been described as one of the most important books in English culture and a driving force in shaping the English-speaking world. Before the 17th century, people weren't free to speak against their religion, and science wasn't really recognised, so there was no language to explain science concepts. Science was discovering things and naming them, so sometimes they had to use Latin. Although Spanish and Mandarin Chinese have greater numbers of native speakers, English has become the international second language for business and commerce. At one point in the early 20th century, the British Empire expanded across 1/4 of the world's surface. It helps that one of those former colonies, the US, expanded its cultural and commercial dominance after the British Empire faded. In countries where large settler colonies were formed, such as Australia, Canada and the US, native languages and cultures were pushed to near extinction. During the 1700s, there was a craze for books teaching correct grammar, pronunciation and spelling. Many scholars, teachers and fuddy-duddy old men felt that the British should follow strict rules when it came to the English language. They thought that all people should learn to use the language properly, and many books were published outlining a new set of rules. Samuel Johnson published his famous dictionary back in 1755 after it took him 9 years to write it. The use of English in the United States is a direct result of the British colonisation of the Americas. The first wave of English settlers arrived in North America during the 17th century, with further migrations in the 18th and 19th centuries. Since then, American English has developed into many different dialects, heavily influenced by Western African and Native American English, as well as other European languages such as German, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, as well as the Scottish and Irish dialects. American English has become highly influential in the film and music industries. You will often hear that British, American or Australian English is the one that you should be teaching in a classroom, but this is not true at all. The best advice is to stick to what you know. So I'm a British native, so I teach British English in the classroom, even though it's with a Scottish accent. But I do allow my students to use American words and pronunciation if they find it easier to do so. It's your job as a teacher to explain the differences in spelling, pronunciation and meaning between British and American English. But you'll be surprised as to how many ESL students are already aware of this.